Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you are interested in today's video. Trump's series of outrageous actions after taking office have aroused public anger, and even the United Kingdom, the country's own son, has begun to overturn the table. Recently, the British Foreign Secretary scolded the United States in front of the global media, saying that China's chip overtaking was all due to the United States' nonsense. Now the global technology circle is eating melons and watching the show. This chip war that has lasted for 10 years has forced the Chinese to make an epic turnaround. 10 years ago, the United States strangled China's neck and made harsh words, saying that no high-end chips could be bought. Guess what happened 10 years later? China's chip exports soared by 262%, directly reaching $159.5 billion. Huawei's Kirin chips, which were forced to be produced, can now match the international top level. This wave of suffocating suppression by the United States not only did not strangle people to death, but instead pressed the overclocking acceleration key for the Chinese technology circle. The latest report from the United Kingdom said more bluntly that China's semiconductor patent applications surged by 400% after the blockade. This is not a technical blockade, but it clearly opened up the rain and dew meridians of Chinese engineers. The United Kingdom also used Huawei as an example. It is said that the United States used sanctions to force TSMC to cut off supply, but Huawei and SMIC produced a purely domestic Kirin 9000s. What is even more amazing now is that the United States has just announced restrictions on the export of AI chips, and a Zen 910B has turned around and entered the supercomputing market. Among the 50 newly built intelligent computing centers in China last year, 42 used Ascend systems, tearing off 35% of the market share from NVIDIA. This operation is like being banned from playing games by your opponent, but you rub out the dragon-slaying sword with your bare hands and push the opponent's high ground. Huawei's counterattack success is inseparable from the foresight of the national policy layout. The National Integrated Circuit Breaker Fund, established in 2014, has leveraged trillions of capital to invest in key links of the industrial chain in 10 years. Now SMIC's 28nm yield rate has reached 99.8%, 0.5 percentage points higher than TSMC's production line of the same level. Even more powerful is the combination of tax policies. The additional deduction rate for R&D expenses has been raised to 100%, and semiconductor companies have reduced taxes by $120 billion in 2024 alone. The second reason for the success of the counterattack is strategic determination. When the United States developed a 7nm process, China was obsessed with mature processes and played 72 changes. Huawei Ascend 910B uses a 14nm process to achieve 256 trillion operations per second, and its energy efficiency ratio surpasses NVIDIA 100. It's like you use an old engine to modify a hybrid supercar, forcing international manufacturers to modify their product roadmaps overnight. What's even more amazing is the industrial collaboration. As soon as Yangtze Memory's 3D flash memory was mass-produced, Lenovo came with a $2 billion order to buy 3 years of production capacity. In fact, this wave of counterattack has long been foreshadowed in the technical reserves. Huawei HiSilicon has invested $220 billion in R&D funds in 10 years, and won 1,273 chip patents in 2023 alone, and has built a moat in EDA tools and architecture design. The Da Vinci architecture of Ascend 910B has a unique skill, which can push the memory bandwidth to 3.2 terabytes per second, more than double that of NVIDIA's 100. This is why SenseTime technology has achieved a miracle of a 40% drop in cost when training large models. The chip technology, developed by Suiwon Technology, is even more unique, stacking 14nm chips with 7nm performance. The rich in the Middle East are rushing to invest $2 billion just for this unique skill. This hard work, hidden in the laboratory, is the real foreshadowing of the counterattack script. In addition, the United States restricts the export of high-performance AI chips, which has forced the world's largest domestic replacement market. The installation volume of Horizon Journey 6 chips exceeded 4 million this year, directly suppressing Mobileye's market share to below 15%. What's more amazing is that the National Supercomputing Center has set a rule that 30% of new computing clusters must use domestic GPUs. Shanghai Tianshu Jixin seized the policy dividend and reversely conquered the storage and computing technology with government procurement orders. Now the forecast system, supplied to the European Meteorological Agency, has core chips all made in Hangzhou. Now the outcome of this technology game is gradually becoming clear. The United States suddenly imposed a 60% tariff on 28nm chips this year, which exposed their deeper anxiety. The localization rate of equipment for their proud 5nm production line is less than 12%. In contrast, China's 200-layer NAND flash memory production line of Yangtze Memory has exceeded 85% of its core equipment localization rate. What's more ironic is that when the United States was busy building the wall, China's Tiangong space station opened its scientific experiment cabin to 17 countries. Even the former director of NASA said that this is the most generous cooperation in the history of human spaceflight. In recent years, the United States has spent $53 billion on chip bills, but Intel's factory has not yet been capped. What about China? Investment in the semiconductor industry in 2024 alone will exceed $1.2 trillion, and the money is spent on the cutting edge. The chip town in Lingang, Shanghai, gathers the entire industry chain from design to packaging. No wonder TSMC's Morris Chang said that mainland semiconductors are not rising, but reborn. The US blockade has catalyzed China's more terrifying industry chain resilience. 10 years ago, the domestic production rate of Chinese semiconductor equipment was less than 5%. Now, the etching machine of North Huachuang can enter the supply chain of TSMC, and the thin film equipment of SMIC is rushed by Samsung to place orders. The U.S. Department of Commerce recently quietly relaxed the export restrictions on 28nm equipment because it found that the proportion of Chinese silicon wafers used in its own chip factories exceeded 30%. This is really a punch to the other side, which hurts oneself 3 points. What really broke the defense of the United States was that China played the whole family bucket tactic of soft and hard. While they were still disassembling the performance of a single chip, the golden triangle of Huawei Hongmeng system, plus Ascend chip plus BYD electric drive, had taken shape. Wenxie M9 sold 280,000 units in 3 months after its launch. The Kirin 990A chip used in the cockpit is deeply coupled with Hongmeng 4.0, and the voice response speed is 3 times faster than that of Apple. This wave of operations is like playing mahjong and suddenly changing the rules. You just made a clean color, and others have already used mixed colors to bloom. This chip war taught China 3 things. First, pressure is the best teacher. Second, independent research and development is the hard truth. And third, don't set limits for the Chinese. Look at the current Beidou centimeter-level positioning and Tiangong space station robotic arm. Which one is not the black technology forced out by the blockade? When the lighthouse goes out, the real light often rises from the horizon. As Ren Zhengfei said, without scars, there is no thick skin. Watching the plastic sisters of Britain and the United States tearing each other apart, China just concentrates on research and development. After all, in the face of hardcore technology, all blockades will become the best assists.